and I followed my passion.
It's Principles of Passion.
I have a dream.
With hosts Chris Thomas.
We really envision a world where all youth are inspired to find, define, and follow their passion.
In order to follow your dreams,
I have a dream today.
You have to put your passion first.
Sitting down with Chris on the season 3 finale, it's Julius the Mad Thinker. This dude is a dynamic event music producer and a must-see international DJ. He is a true visionary. In 2017, Julius produced his debut album, Perspective, an album of epic dance tunes with deep to classic Chicago sound. He also has a reputation for uniting music communities and launching premier DJ music events. In 2009, Julius co-founded MCH, Mi Casa Holiday, with his partner Jen Hurst, and it has evolved into the world's premier travel and music community. This is Principles of Passion. Let's get it, y'all.
Yo. What's up, fam? How you doing, bro?
Doing pretty well, man. Doing pretty well.
Man, let's give a shout out to just the viewers that have tuned in over the course of the past year and a half to Principles of Passion. We're here in season 3, episode 15, the finale. It's been a road, y'all. It's been a road, a long road, an up road, a down road. And so I'm just appreciative of having such an amazing being on the show to close it out with this season, that just it's in epic fashion that the individual on the show tonight is somebody that we're partnered with for our finale, the finale of the YourPassion1st program. And so just humbled, honored, all the great things that I'm feeling, but most importantly, I'm thankful to have a strong, Black male in my life like yourself that's really trying to change the game, bro. We doing it. So
Appreciate that. I appreciate the invitation, and I've been looking forward to the conversation for a little bit here. And so it's gonna be nice.
Love it. I love it. So for those of y'all freshly tuning in, those of y'all may have been following us for a minute, just a brief background and some shouts out to some people that I feel have just been instrumental in the work that we're doing and the support that you need when you're digging deep and you're being creative and you're starting a new vision, a new movement. And so on this episode, being it's our finale, my man Julius, and I said, hey, I'll let the guests pick the episodes. And Julius is like, how about the time is now? How about the time is now? Your passion first. The time is now. Stop waiting for it to be the right time to do the thing that you need to do to make you be happy. There's not going to be a right time. Life is about overcoming challenges and finding solutions to those every day and collaborating with, great people and great beings that emulate that feel that rock that vibe, And so just blessings on blessings to have the opportunity to be doing that right now. Let me give you, a little bit of shout out. You tell who the man Julius is. Hey, y'all wondering what's around my neck. Hey, y'all that ain't been tuned in. Maybe you was off in another land. We in COVID, baby. We in COVID season. It's COVID season. Just letting you know, as we end this finale, we're still in COVID season. We're reimagining a lot of things on how we connect and create with people. So remember that. Shout out Julius, the Mad Thinker. You heard the intro in case you didn't. Event music producer. You know what? Why don't you just tell the story? I'm done talking. I could go through all this. Julius, why don't you tell who you are, what you do, and the amazing work. And then I want to go into a little bit of your music a little set so people could hear 2 to 3 minutes about what you're all about.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I guess the best way to describe, well, my name is Julius Spates, aka the Mad Thinker, and we can talk about how that happened later on in the show. But I'm from Elgin, Illinois, and it all started for me with a bet. I bet my cousin that I could get 500 people to go to a party at my house. But the only way that I would be able to do that was to convince my mom to do the party. So she let me do it, but under two conditions. One was that I had to write a business plan. And the second was that if I were to make any money, I had to give my sister spending money for her first trip, her senior trip to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So I wrote the business plan, and I was able to give my sister $500 after I got about 600 people to go to the party. So she goes down to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, has the time of her life, and comes back and convinces that company, IS Tours, to hire her on as actually it was IS Tours or Student Operators at the time. They changed the name, but she comes back and convinces that company to hire her on as the youngest student organizer in that company's history. So it was amazing. I, of course, after getting 600 people to go to a party, started to continue throwing parties. And along the way, I started to disagree with the order of songs that our DJ was playing. I loved the music that he was playing. His name was DJ Beauty. He's a good friend of mine. And I started, I love to dance. So I decided I would be on the dance floor and say, man, why would you play this instead of this? Or what if you played this instead of this? And then all of a sudden I just started to love it. And I would ask him and ask him and ask him. One day he's just like, man, if you're really serious, you need to step it up and get your own stuff. And first I was like, oh my goodness. But then I did that in 1994, the summer of 94. I was able to successfully sync the beats together. And I was hooked from that point on. So my sister goes 20 years of travel and hospitality. I go 20 plus years of DJing and event production. And in 2009, we produced an event in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, which is about 45 minutes south of Cancun. And people describe it as a magical experience. And since then, that one party has evolved into a travel and music community where we produce events in Costa Rica, Cuba, US, and Mexico. And so that's where we are right now. And now we're in COVID, ready to produce the biggest event of my life, which is the virtual weekend. And the cool thing about that is this is one of the first events that we have really put a cause front and center, in front of everything, right? And passion had to be like there wasn't a more central I guess there wasn't a more central aspect to life than passion, because of the way that I grew up. When we grew up, my sister and I, my parents didn't. My dad maybe told me, hey, you should be a dentist because, hey, you don't have to work that much and you're smart and you could do it. And I was just like, I don't want to be a dentist, whatever. But he was pretty much the only one that said that. My mom would have ideas, but they really didn't care that much what we were going to do. They thought we were going to do something. But the one rule that we had in our house, my mom would pretty much say on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, whatever you do, you have got to have passion. So earlier, this summer, once I was roaming around on Instagram trying to figure out, what our virtual event was going to be. We had all the pieces, but there was one piece that was missing. And once I saw that Instagram post, it said, "Your passion first." I was like, your passion first. What's this? So I, wrote, not expecting, I didn't know what was going to come back. And all of a sudden I get a message. Yeah, this is kind of what we do, but hey, it'd be better if we could talk. I'm like, oh, this is great. We can actually talk about this as opposed to just, chatting back and forth because, people are busy. You just don't know.
People sometimes just go back and forth with text, man. And it's like, man, it dilutes the situation.
Totally. So once, I called, we got together and I met you, Chris. I was just like, okay, this is Chicago. You know, another cool dude, super passionate, super duper passionate. I was just like, and for me personally, the thing is about passion for me is that it's not even so much what the passion is. That's a whole nother discussion. It's the fact that someone is so passionate about something. And then that right there just makes me feel like I want to know all about it right there. I just love that. So after we met, had a great conversation, and once I understand a little bit about the organization, reaching out to underserved communities and young adults and inspiring them to work in the area of their passion, highlighting culinary and sports and music and art. I was just like, this is amazing. So that became kind of like the missing piece to the puzzle for what we were going to be producing, knowing that COVID wiped out all of our events this year. And the thing about destination music events.
At all.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Yeah, not all of them. Yes, not all of them.
Not all of them.
Wiped out all the ones on site, right? But the thing about the destination music events is that people really, really, I mean, it in the beginning it was like kind of a party, but then after a year or two, you start to, receive letters and what type of preparation goes into a yearly vacation and event. And so it became way more than just a party. It was really about the connection and people that you met. So this all coming together, I thank you for doing what you guys do, because actually I don't know what would have been pulled together and how the event would not have the presence that it does if it weren't for what you guys do. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you doing the work that you do. And the music industry is, on the surface, there's a lot of good talent, but deeper into the weeds with some of the production, some of the audio, some of the AV stuff, there's definitely pipelines that need to be built. So, when it comes to workforce readiness and development, those are some areas we're really hyper focused on, but you got to have some fun with it too. So we wanted to find a way to create that. So, let's go into some of that fun real quick. And one of this guy kills it, y'all. Let me give credit where credit is due. For those of y'all that don't know Julius, the Mad Thinker, after you look at this and you look at a set he did with Nocturne, it was pretty long. We're gonna play about 2.5 to 3 minutes or so. It's gonna put you in your element, right? Some people like to meditate. Some people like to get into the moment. Some people like to do that with beats. This is some pretty innovative stuff to really capture the heart, to capture the music. You'll see some of the visual elements here too. And, it's inspirational to be around people that are really trying to move people in this way. So let me put this on, and then obviously we'll get into some more conversation here. But without further ado, let me put this. All right.
This is House Talk on Nocturne Chicago Vibe. Special guest, my brother Julius, the Man Thinker. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Nocturne Chicago Vibe. This is a great place to be.
What year was it?
Chicago summertime. Let's go.
This was this year.
Okay. Before COVID?
This is during COVID.
Okay. What, like July, June?
This was June.
Yo, check this, y'all. Check this.
It's the growing mass class in our society. Portugal in every other society, consisting of millions of people who are facing a life of insecurity, a life of economic uncertainty, with debt, not feeling that they're going anywhere in their lives, they're developing themselves.
Where they going? Where they going? Lost, no passion, no purpose.
Getting angry. And this anger development is being lost because they hate what the politicians are doing.
Trauma.
They are the precariat is also looking for a new politics of paradise. And I think that we're seeing Portugal, in Spain, and a number of other countries, the precariat beginning to emerge as a progressive force. Some of them, of course, the uneducated part of the precariat are voting for Donald Trump, Marine Le Pen, terrible populists. But more and more of the educated part of the precariat are looking for a new type of politics, and basic income is seen as part of that new politics. And I'm very excited. I think the precariat wants to recreate a sense of the future, a sense that we in society are building something that's better, something that's ecologically sustainable, something that respects the values of feminism, the values of compromise that I was talking about in my speech this morning, a sense in which we want to rescue life as a pleasurable experience where we develop ourselves. I'm an economist, but I may use philosophical language. It's the pursuit of ontological security. What I mean by that is a sense of security that we are able to develop our capabilities, our community, our sense of conviviality, a sense of reciprocity with our relatives and friends in a different way. Now, I think the old social democrats.
Let's stop it right there. Let me pause it. Whew. Bro, every time I listen to that, it gets me like, I get amped up. Because it has so much just realness and heart. And when you put language with music and you fuse it together so well, it brings a different type of feeling, bro. So I just commend you for taking that speech. And I would love to hear more about Nocturne, the speech, your thought process. And after that, let's get into the show a little bit. We still on the intro, people. We still on the intro. Let's go with it.
So, Nocturne's done a great job with, they really wanted to highlight all of the local international talent here in Chicago. So they've had, everyone. The gentleman who hosts it, his name is Ron Carroll. There's a couple guys that are behind the scenes, names Miguel and Francois, and they do a great job. The setup's awesome. So that's kind of the standard setup that when I play around the world, that's kind of what the standard setup is right there. So it was cool to walk in there and say, okay, here's in Chicago, they're doing it the right way. Because sometimes the cool thing about DJing, you just don't know what your situation is actually going to be. It could be like a small, little party, or it could be, this private event, or it could be this big festival, and it always changes. So you're always kind of staying humble with it. So it was nice in Chicago to see representation. Like they have the lights, the sound, everything was right. So that's really cool about Nocturne. The speech is from a gentleman named Guy Standing. So if you're going to YouTube that, you got to say UBI, like Universal Basic Income, Guy Standing, or Guy Standing Economist, right? And he is talking about in that speech, he's talking about a new class called the precariat. And what the precariat is he breaks down the different social classes, and the precariat is kind of this newer class that's not just going to they're younger, they're more progressive. They're not just going to take information that is fed down to them by like your regular standard politicians, right? They're not just because they're not going to say go vote for a Republican just because you said Republican, or a Democrat just for Democrat. They're not going to do that. They're gonna listen to the information and then they're gonna make their decision. But they're really looking for what he was talking about, this politics of paradise, which is like how politics or how the world actually could be. And that's what the whole speech is about. And the main reason that this class has grown is because year after year for, hundreds of years, or not hundreds of years, but definitely this last 100 years, been promised that like, hey, you know what? If you go to school, if you, get a good education, then you'll be able to get a good job and you're gonna be good. And this class, this precariat class is like, they found out right away that was a lie, right? So he's talking about as time that moves on, that that these kids are paying attention, right? They're paying attention. They know what's going on. And so there's no longer just like, oh, we're going to go vote just to go vote. You're going to have to really explain how this is going to, impact my life and my community, right? And then he goes deeper into actually like, the Charter of the Forest before the even Constitution was written, and the Charter of the Forest, and how like time has gone on and, private companies have taken land and all this stuff that has happened like on the backs of like all of us, like not so much to do with who owns what right now, but more to do with all of our ancestors and the contribution that we all as a society have collectively made, right? So that's what he talks about in that. And I've just been so hype on a lot of his talks. It was just to be able to, I finally had, crunched it all down and got the audio and wanted to put it over like music. And it was the perfect time that I was feeling at that time under that track. So that's what it was about.
I love it. I love it, man. And sometimes when you are doing the right things around the right people at the right time, everything just starts to fall into harmony. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what brought, you and me together in terms of just really how do we create something that's new, that's different. And I know we both have help on both ends, but when you can bring together community and people with things that they really feel in their heart, that they're passionate about, it's a beautiful thing, man. So let's start there. Let's just start. That was the intro, y'all. We got a long night, but a short night. This is the last episode, and you know what? Let me pull this out. I didn't do this. Let me get some shouts out to some people, if you don't mind, man.
Of course.
Because without these people, we're not here today. We're not here on this show. We're not here bringing together 3 organizations, Build included. Shout out to Carmen Scott Boria over at Build, for bringing this trifecta together, right? Shout out to some other people that on the back end, without having really put together some of the bits and pieces to the puzzle, we're not here. Shout out to Mickey Grace for helping us with the beginning of this season and some of our marketing efforts. Shout out to Joe Natal, my business partner. We got some things coming for y'all on the profit side, and just really looking at organizations and how do they create change outside of youth programming, right? How do they essentially make more money, right? Increase their bottom line. And so just beautiful partnership there with Joe Natal, Exponential Consulting. Kayla Peterson, doing some amazing things with women empowerment, coaching, and just a beautiful soul, and has been an amazing friend too. Shout out to MJ, co-host of season 2, another beautiful soul, person doing amazing things in the world, helping people. Carly Taggart on our board, Catherine, Kirk on our board, just amazing people to be giving their time, energy, and spirit to something that we feel can really make a difference in the community. Shout out to some of our mentors in the program. Shauna One Prophecy, I see you out there. De La Faye, I see you. They've been beast mode, doing some great work with some premier musicians and artists in the Chicagoland area, but bringing their time and energy and talent to some of our young adults in the program. Shout out to my mentor and one of my favorite people in the world, Kim Marzano. Just amazing, beautiful people. Shout out to the whole advanced group family. Shout out to Ana Munoz and Yesenia Ponce de Leon for, when we first started this, being like, sure, we'll help, and just being about it with it. So y'all doing even bigger and better things and doing, but still here in the heart. And it's a ton of other people that have really brought this to life. But I'm on, last but not least, shout out to my family and my friends that are just through all the thick and thin that I've been through, that we've been through, that we gonna go through. I appreciate y'all being by my side and us being by each other's side and continuing to grow and learn and live and have fun and appreciate the finer things of life and the simple things in life. So just much love to, anyone that has never given appreciation, that is willing to give appreciation and that wants to give appreciation to not just the work that we're doing, but to themselves. Shout out to anyone looking to put their passion first. We Your Passion First. Again, we're on episode 15, season 3. Shout out to anyone out there that's struggling, that's challenged, that's living, that's learning, that's loving, but most importantly, learning how to put their passion first. So Julius, to you, let's put this back up there. What does it mean to put your passion first?
Well, first, let me give a shout out to my lovely wife, because she's like my support system. I mean, it's a roller coaster living with anyone who's putting their passion first. So don't get it twisted, right?
Where's she at? I know she there. Go ahead. Let her get a little peek in. I know she there. I know she there. Bring her on around. Bring her around. She didn't know. Hey, if you in your bathrobe, you got the there.
No passion yet. It's too early. Thank you. How are you?
Good. We're amazing, and just, it takes two to tango in any relationship. So I'm sure you both had to put up with each other's shit, but also put up with, what it really means to bond and to bring that bond together into something you both believe in. And if that believing is just bare minimum love, that in itself is a relationship. So I appreciate y'all for going strong. How many years y'all married now?
10 years. 10 years this year.
Went by really fast.
Some people, I ain't gonna call no names, can't even make it a year or two. I'm just saying. One of these days I'm gonna get married, y'all. I'm blessed to have an amazing 8-year-old, and I'm not forced, but she out there somewhere. I'm gonna find her. But I commend y'all for 10 years strong. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Thank you. And I'll let him get back because he's the important one here. Thank you, though. Have a nice evening.
So now I want to give a shout out to my sister Jen Hurst and my business partner as well. She's actually, I always say she's the real mad thinker, because there wouldn't be any Mikasa holiday if it was not for her. When we were going to produce the actual event, she was hitting me with, what if you could we could just get everyone to go there. What if you were playing music on the beach? What if? And that's how we grew up. Our parents saying, what if, right? So then, and she got me saying, yeah. Next thing you know, now we're like 12 years in, or 11 years in, right, on our 12th season. So shout out to her, shout out to the entire Mikasa Holiday community, the entire 3 Degrees community, the entire Rec Center community. So it went from like hip hop to Friends Network to now Destination Music Travel. And so this virtual weekend, going back into it, is a culmination of everything that I've been involved in since the day that I've been inspired by the music.
Love it.
My mom and my dad, of course, as well.
I love it. So just really a collective that we respectively decided to say, hey, one day, collective or not, we're gonna do what we feel is the right thing to do. And that came with a lot of support, a lot of people, a lot of energy, a lot of people saying, no, you can't do this. A lot of people saying, yes, you can. And building that though, and it takes putting yourself out there. And that's the tough thing. So what, if you could sum it up in one sentence, and then I'll give mine too, but what does passion mean to you? Or 2 sentences.
Yeah. Passion is, it's beyond the word to me, because when I first understood it, I didn't know. I heard it from my mom, but I didn't really, it was just a word, but I didn't.
You only got 1 sentence left.
Yeah.
I just said 2 sentences.
Yeah. Passion is the drive towards something beyond explanation.
That's beautiful, bro. Beyond explanation. Let's give a couple definitions, and then I'll give what I feel it is.
You gonna give what you feel it is first, or are you gonna give the definitions?
What do you want? Which do you prefer?
Give me the
what I feel is. So for me, passion is picking one or multiple things in your life that you're willing to die for in order to achieve success with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's a couple definitions. Any powerful or compelling emotion or feeling, as love or hate, which was surprising to me to hear the word hate and the definition of it. We got Derek Hines in there. Oh, my man. Have a great show, guys. Derek's a beast mode in the media space in terms of editing. He works for School of Media and just doing some great things. Stories to savor for those of y'all that need any type of work in any editing, anything like that. Check them out. Stories to savor. Beast. Peace, Derek. What up, my man? Appreciate you.
You kids.
Another definition: strong amorous feeling or desire, love, ardor, strong sexual desire, lust, an instance or experience of strong love or sex. A lot of sex ones, a lot of sex, passion. A person toward whom one feels strong sex, a strong or extravagant fondness or enthusiasm.
Okay.
So, a lot of it is directed towards sex because with passion comes emotion. And with emotion, a lot of people tie emotion to either one side or the other. Like I'm either really, really sad or I'm really, really happy, right? When I'm really, really sad, what am I doing to bring myself into happiness? When I'm really, really happy, am I like, oh, happy, happy, happy? Or is there a structure, through with which that happiness lies? And, I think we all are learning what those things are in terms of passion. And, again, y'all, this conversation isn't to say there's one answer for anything. And this principles of passion and your passion first and Mikasa, we all have creative minds and ideas and problems and challenges and solutions. So this is more, here's what I think, here's what Julius thinks, and we open for discussion about it, more importantly than anything.
Yeah, I think like I was saying, for me it was, well, I guess you could say that sometimes people, they may understand their passion, but they don't know, they may understand that they're passionate, but they don't know what their passion actually is. And I have met some people, I've met very few people who don't have any passion, right? I met more people who don't know what they're passionate about and may not articulate as something that they love, that they're passionate about it, but it actually is passion. They just don't define it as that. So passion is interesting. Like it takes a while sometimes before you can figure out what your passion actually is or your passions actually are. But I just thought that'd be, I wanted to add that in there because it throws kind of a hitch in things sometimes, you know?
You know what? And here's what we're going to do. And we could do this a couple ways. I'm open. I have some rebuttals, right, to passion. That was one of them, and how to answer some of those and we could go through those first and then get into passion, or we could do passion and get into those. Which you want?
Okay, let's do passion first, and then we'll get into those.
Let's get through that, and because there's 4 of them that I have. One of those is one you just mentioned, but I feel like it's important to ask a few questions first, not just for ourselves to talk through, but for the audience to hear and kind of think through a little bit, and then towards the end, we'll get into some of those common and maybe uncommon rebuttals about, hey, well, what if I have multiple passions, or what if I don't know what my passion is? And we'll try and articulate that. Hopefully, we'll be able to answer some of those things in the process. But let's go to this second question here. What are ways that we can create more honest, open, and vulnerable spaces? And the reason I put that one up next is because when you look at passion has to start somewhere. And normally when it starts, it's just you feeling what you love. You don't go out and be like, oh, I love what well, I take that back. You may have someone that you emulate that you're like, I like what they're doing, so I'm going to try and do that. But then you still got to bring it back to self and be like, okay, but I got to do this. I like this. That person may or may not be there when I still decide to do this thing, right? And so as we look to create those safe spaces between people that we see that are doing the things that we want to do, right? How do we create more honest and open and vulnerable spaces between young adults and mentors and teachers to be able to really put that passion first and be that creative being?
Well, there's a few words that come to mind. If we're talking about honest and open and vulnerable spaces, we're gonna get into communication, listening, not hearing, actually listening, right? Because if you're listening, then you can get an idea of A, where someone's coming from, and B, how to communicate. That's the road. That's the road to being able to open up a space where someone can be vulnerable. Because if there's no listening, then there's no communication, or it's just the one way, and therefore there won't be any type of vulnerable. No one will be wanting to get into a space that's vulnerable if you didn't listen to them and you don't know how to communicate with them. So those are the first things that actually come to mind right away with that.
Love that. I love that. And it's great that you say that, because that's the basis of our mission statement for working better together. Is, you really have to have that firm understanding of who you're interacting with. And I was on the call with Carmen today, and I think I mentioned Carmen earlier. I don't think I mentioned her when I mentioned everyone, but for our Workforce Readiness Festival, we're partnered with Build, and the reason we have that relationship, and when I say relationship, like everyone's got to earn their keep, right? So they're giving us a shot. They've been around 50 years, right? So they're giving us an opportunity to show, and so the relationship is new. But the reason we even have that entryway into the Austin community and an organization that's doing so well already is because of Carmen. And so just appreciative of her. I didn't bring her up in full, but much love to Carmen, the whole Build team over there, doing amazing things within nonviolence and keeping these young bucks off the street. That's what it's about. Keep them off the street and into what they're passionate about, and really being able to deliver that. So appreciate that, man. That's it. How do we make meaningful connections happen easier and faster? And when I say this, I want to caveat it by saying for 40, I'm almost 26 for life, but I think I just turned 41. But for a lot of my life, I flew through life because I felt like I had to prove something to someone. And I missed opportunities to slow down and build true connection with people, both in personal relationships and relationships with women and family, just in all of it. And that's one thing. Maybe it's just my hyper speed, my hyper ADD, whatever you want to call it. But I'm working on toning that back. However, in business and in this change agent space and in the space of COVID and reimagining education, you can't wait too long to make a move. You gotta bob and weave. You gotta react to the market. So how do individuals, young adults, adults, as they become creative and passionate, how do they make meaningful connections happen easier and faster? And is there an easier and faster?
Well, the first question is, well, what I would suggest is a person would need to ask themselves, and I think it's always important, just go to the mirror, because it's you and ask yourself, like, okay, so what is it that I'm actually passionate about? Right. So that's the first thing. What am I passionate about? Ask yourself what you're passionate about, right? Then once you have kind of a list of things that you're passionate about or things that you love, or if you can go down the list, then you look at communities that embrace such things. So you're already walking into an environment where you have some type of relatedness at that point, right? So that's, to me, if you're talking from an individual. Now, if you're talking about from an organization and you want to create, that has to do with, from my experience, it's been about first considering the range of people whom you'll be communicating with. And I've always wanted to build platforms or create spaces where someone doesn't have to make an adjustment. In actuality, their flow works any way that you look at it. So in the event world, one of the reasons I love producing events in international paradises and destinations, because it doesn't matter. You can wear gym shoes or you can look nice. You're on the beach and you're happy. So if you're like high end, if you just barely, paying for school or just barely got there, it doesn't matter whatsoever. And on top of that, the environment and the people, they're not infringing upon each other. So then you can have a huge range of different types of, different personality types and styles and everything, and it all flows. And in the end, what happens is people they start to communicate, because then there's also the part of like creating ways where people can distinguish like positive commonalities, right? That's usually what happens, especially if you go to a foreign place. But if you just at least consider whom you're trying to communicate with, and then understand their styles, and then you pick an environment that's not going to infringe upon their styles, then you're making it a lot easier at that point for people to connect.
Yeah. I really like what you said about positive commonalities, right? And that's something we should probably talk with offline as we look at Meet App Go and bringing up some things in there. But when I hear that, I think of like going to like a foreign country or going to a different state and like, oh, the Bears bar or oh, the Cubs bar. It's like, exactly. You already like, there's already a brotherhood, a bond there. You're like, oh, what's up? Bears game. Like you already know those people, you know? And I think it's so important for us to create those, you know, safe spaces where we could feel that commonality with people. And yeah, maybe it's a new environment. For example, our event, right? Maybe it's a Workforce Readiness Festival where we're bringing people in from different parts of the country and, you know, contestants from here. Like there's no rules on it. You don't have to wear a certain type of clothes. You don't have to be a certain type of a way. You don't have to be at a certain place at a certain time, right? You dive into it, you figure out what piece of it you like, and you say, hey, how can I go into this and feel happier, feel like I'm connected with people, you know? And it's those commonalities and bringing together people intentionally and having that commonality, whether it be through a joke, through a game, through just a conversation or a circle, right? Peace circles are huge now, and they've been huge since before America. And so looking at how do we create those safe spaces and connections, to your point, yes, that is what will get us to be.
Yeah, I always think of it very similar to what you just laid out, like in a different state or a different country. One of the things, that's what I actually learned from the event that I was a part of for so many years and still a part of 3 Degrees. It was a friends network, and it was a Wednesday night, every Wednesday night here in Chicago, and it was a free party. However, you had to be a friend of a friend. It was called 3 Degrees. So the guarantee was that you were a friend of a friend, or a friend of a friend's friend, right? And out of that experience, what the magic is when people discovered positive commonalities. And because it was one city, what happens is you have all these different politics that happen or whatnot, right? You know, this person worked with this person years ago, this person, and you know, and there's these stories. We're all kind of coming up, immature, did not crazy resources, and things are going to happen. It's right. Producing events is messy. It can be very messy. So I always used to think about, okay, well, what happened? 2 things. What happens if you're, you know, on the beach someplace in Hawaii versus when you're on the L? If you're on the L and someone runs into you, you're just like, oh man. Depending on your day, you're like, dang, man, people are rude or so-and-so, right? You're just like, man. But if that same thing happens on the beach and you accidentally spilled someone's beer over or whatnot, then what's going to happen is you're going to be like, oh, man, I'm so sorry. And they're going to be, no, I'm sorry. And you're like, hey, I'll get you a drink. No, let me get you a drink. No, let me get you. And then while in the midst of that drink, it's just like, oh, yeah. So, hey, why are you here? He's like, oh, man, you know what? I'm getting my friend's getting married. And you're like, oh, cool. Are you from around here? No, yeah. I mean, I'm from LA, but they're from Chicago. You're like, what? Chicago? That instant, right there. And I believe like like for the events that I've been a part of and that I have anything to do with producing, it's about trying to produce that naturally.
Right. Yeah. Produce being able to go through things, life ups and downs in a natural way. Where
that's community. That's so once you if you build it from the foundation with some of those principles, right? Of first of all, like literally like understanding or thinking about the people whom you want to reach,
right,
from one range to the other. Once you do that,
right,
then you find the platform. Once you have the platform, then you already know there's going to be commonalities because you're in the same city, right? Or if there's music, or if there's whatever. So you already know that's going to happen. Yeah. Then the next part of it is really just introducing people to each other, and it starts to happen naturally anyway.
I love it. I love it. Let's go into, because I like what you said about the challenges, right? And really dealing with challenges in life, whether it be a challenge. You know, I posted something a couple of weeks ago about calling things a grind, and my boy Daryl being like, yo, it's not really a grind, bro. It's a flow state of mind. Like there's ups and there's downs, and you just kind of weave through it. I think that's another person I didn't give a shout out to, but it's some people coming in the recap that were on the season this past season that I'm gonna get some shout outs to at the end. But my man's Daryl, just beast mode in the wellness space, and then getting people to come to that place of calm. But he as well, right? Speaking to that, it's not a challenge. It's not, I had a bad day, or things are a grind. It's like, no, I'm moving through the flow state of mind. So as creative minds, we do seek challenge, because we are always, when you're putting your passion first, you're putting together something new that's yours. It's your passion. No one's seen it before. No one's done it before. No one's going to be there to say there's a blueprint for it, right? And so what are some ways that we can incorporate problem solving into team bonding while still looking at that creative mind?
Okay, there's a little bit to unpack with that.
Yeah.
So I would say that, first of all, okay, creative minds, if you're just speaking in terms from a passionate perspective, many times you're driven by a vision, something that you can see. And when challenges already are presented in that, because just like you said, it's beyond something that's either happening already many times, especially from a creative and passionate space. So at that point, if you're talking about teams and like literally, bonding activities, I think that, okay, I'm trying to, there's a lot all.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, feel free to pass it. Pass it to the left hand side.
Okay. Okay. So, see, I think problem solving, though, it when you have passion, it starts to happen naturally, because you're driven to accomplish whatever that picture is, right? And one thing you start to understand very quickly when you're super passionate about something, when you're passionate about something, is that you can't do everything.
Right.
And so you start to suss out, who knows what, who knows this, who knows that. And then I think the tougher thing is, like, when you have that vision and you have your passion towards something and you have that vision, when and how and where to delegate what and who to work with.
Right. I'm gonna answer it in story. And first of all, yes to everything that you said. Yes. You find a way to, I don't want to say manipulate it, but you
dissect it.
Yeah. And you figure out how to incorporate it into your daily interactions, right? And that's true understanding. When we started all this, I didn't understand, right? Like, you go through things in life where you try and dissect yourself and figure out why you're messing up, if you're messing up, right? Like, some people live from this basement down here, some people live from the balcony, right? So there's two ways you could look at yourself in living that way, right? You could look at yourself as, man, I've always been up here. I've always been shat on, right? And so for a while, I think because I wasn't fully passionate about something, I didn't even know what passion was. I don't feel like I took challenges well, because I always took the negative, or the failure, as a hit on me, because I wasn't focused on where the North Star was, like where I got to be going. So when it was a hit on me, I was like, man, I failed. But when you're focused on your North Star, you're learning, right? You're learning. Like, a failure isn't a failure. It's like, man, it's a step backwards. But until we get aligned with the things that we love, that we're willing to really, like I said at the beginning, to sacrifice and to do at all costs, right? I'm willing to create a pipeline for young adults or die trying, right? At all costs. And so a lot of times we don't really have that alignment, because we're so busy trying to wait for the right time to be aligned with the thing that we could be doing right now today. And so if we were aligned with that thing, then those challenges that were coming in, it would be so much easier for us to create those bonding experiences in that challenge, right? In that moment where, I don't agree. Well, cool, we don't agree. How do we get to a better agreement, a better understanding? But if you're not aligned with what you're passionate about and what fulfills you, then you're going to be trying to push everyone away, right? And for a while, I was defensive, right? Like, my mom's a lawyer. I was like always trying to argue with why things are wrong, instead of really trying to take that true understanding of who we are as people. And then what do I do with that? How do I bond with that understanding of, shit, we both may disagree, but because we had the time to talk through a conversation and understand each other, we know what our mission is. So we could take those disagreements and be like, magic. And that's where we are today,
Yeah. I think, man, there's so much to this right here, though. There's also a part of it. There's a maturity level that has to be, that has to develop, because just like you said, gosh, still to this day, it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes you're so passionate about something, you put so much thought into it that almost feel that sometimes you can move thinking that you know it all, right? But the challenge, well, I would say it is a challenge, and the idea is to feel very secure in the very beginning and in what you're trying to achieve, and then to immediately understand that you will not be able to do it for yourself. So then constantly be looking for more information.
Let me back you up a little bit. Let me back you up just a tiny bit, and not to cut you off, but when you said be secure in the beginning, let's pause on that for a moment, because that's a tough one.
That's why I said maturity first, because that's what I was saying is, like, in the, like, you learn to, like, understand that your vision and your passion is super valuable, but sometimes it comes so natural for you that you don't give value to that. Therefore, when you're moving forward, you get defensive because you're afraid that, like, what you're saying, like, you don't know that much, or, where in actuality, if you understood how valuable from the start what you're trying to achieve and what you've gotten to that, what you actually see at that point, and you understand that not everybody even sees that, then you would be more likely to be open to everything moving forward. So it is super tricky.
Yeah. And what I would say, and to that, and even if you don't feel any value with yourself on one day, but the next day you wake up and you're like, shit, I could be doing that, right? That moment, that 10-second window where you have a decision to commit to, I might be able to, Or why can't I? Like, what's holding me back? Right? And it took that for me. It took that 10-second window one day for me to just wake up and be like, what the F? And that doesn't mean that the next day I was there, right? It means that the next day I grinded, but I kept that same mantra, that same mentality, that same thought process, that same logic of what was that I said the day before? What was that mantra? You know, for those of y'all who remember back in the day, Saturday Night Live, Stuart Smalley, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me, right? Like, for real, as corny as that sounds, like basic mantras like that of, yo, I'm speaking truth into my life, right? And like that in itself, if you can take that and you don't have anyone else around you and no other good thoughts in your mind, if you can find some peace or love in something that you like today, or that you can go out and like tomorrow, just take that little piece and bite off 5% every day and put 5% of that into your life every day. And like the hopes are that will by 15%, there's the bond with people. And then by 100%, there's your life, you know?
Yeah, I think a good practice is, and I always bring this up, is you and the mirror, and you asking yourself, for instance, can I do this? Do I think that I could do this? Do I think I could do this? Do I think I could do it? It's just you and you. That's it. If you can just ask yourself and then just listen to those answers. At one point, you're going to be saying, yes, yeah, I could do that. And then that's all it takes. So if you just continue like having sessions with yourself, you know what I'm saying, just making sure that you get to the mirror and be like, okay, ask yourself, simple and plain. Okay, do I think that people would have fun listening to house music on the beach in paradise? Yes.
Duh.
You know, it's just
COVID, get the hell out of here.
You know,
so we could go to a real Mikasa. I'm just saying.
But, or, you know, I mean, what really pushed me over the edge was like, I was thinking about, man, wait a minute. In Chicago, I remember going to these underground parties. It was like, man, negative like 10 out. And we'd leave our coat in the car because we didn't want to pay $3 for coat check. You know what I'm saying? We didn't want to pay it, right? And then go to a dirty warehouse and have the time of our life. So if that can happen, then how could it not be possible for someone to have fun when it's sunny in a beautiful location, right? So, I mean, it just break it down to the most simple element and ask yourself, hey, is this possible? No, there's no, like, you don't have to make it a big thing. Just ask yourself, hey, is this possible? Can I do that?
So let's go here. Can you do it, right? Like, why? Why do some folks ignore their passion and their creativity?
Well, partly would be because it was learned. Someone continued to tell them that it wasn't worth anything. And it could have been a moment early in life when a person was most impressionable, 3, 4, 5, 6, could have gone to school and drew something, and the kids laughed at you and said, that's ugly. And then therefore from that point,
let's bring that center, right? Let's say let's just put it into perspective. Let's say you're 14 to 16-year-old female or male.
Okay.
By the way, I keep seeing the word woman written WOMXN. WOMA.
XN.
Instead of man, it's MXN. So I'm just saying. So I'm being conscious. Like, now that I saw that, I'm being conscious when I say men and women. I'm saying women first, then men. Just cause. I ain't trying to get on nobody's bad side, my dog. I ain't trying.
I'm in a family.
So when you look at women and men and being creative, like, Do you feel that there's a difference between the way that men react to stigmatism and criticism and the way that women react to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's different social standards, you know, since before we were born, and so I think it's just natural. However, I think about it all as kind of like a seesaw, right? And so if the seesaw up here, you're higher off the ground, so that's a great thing. But if you're trying to leave, then that's a bad thing, right? So the reason I say that is because sometimes what is perceived as a weakness is actually your greatest strength. And I believe that everyone has it. The question is whether or not you choose to recognize it as that, okay? So if I'm the only African-American in a place, right? Okay, so some people may say that that's difficult, that's hard. And in some respects, it is. But guess what? Every person is there trying to spend all their time to prove how different and unique they are from everybody else. So if I'm the only person there, guess what? Then I'm the most unique right off the bat. But the question is, did I recognize that or did I not? Did I get pulled in from what the social norm and the conversation is and about everything else or not?
Right.
People who are born into conditions that are, just unimaginable, as crazy as it sounds, but the beautiful part about that is if you survive that, guess what? You have a story that no one can ever take away from you. And you may be thinking at the time that this is what I had to go through. And the challenge in that is to understand that this is part of what makes you different than everyone else. Things like people aren't going to be able to go through what you went through, which means that coming up with your creativity, your ideas, your suggestions, your solutions, you're going to have a little bit something extra that no one will ever be able to get. So it's really about recognizing what makes you unique, what makes you creative, okay? And embracing that. Because guess what? When you get out into the world, the first thing they're going to ask you is like, well, why should I pick you than anybody else? So why make up something when you actually already have something there? So it's about whether you can recognize it. And unfortunately, and fortunately, you need people around you that can share that with you, that can continue to tell you. It might be your grandma, it might be your friend, it might be your teacher, that they say you have something special, or, hey, don't give up. It's not just about not giving up. It's about when you survive whatever it is that you're surviving, that is that's part of what makes you special. And I think that everyone should recognize that.
I love that. I love it, man. We're all individuals, but we all share similarities.
So with women and men, it's similar in that way. I mean, I talk to my sister, my mom, my wife, my daughter, and soon it will be my granddaughter. It's like it's yes, absolutely. Okay, the world is a male dominant, but you have power in a different way.
Sure.
Right? And embrace that, because you can use it in whatever creed, where you're from, whatnot. Just recognize that is what makes you you, and no one will ever be able to take it away from you.
Right. Yeah, and one thing I posted up a couple times the comments, right? Fear. I think Matt Downs, fear of failure. Phaedra said fear. I think when folks and individuals, and I use the word folks, I'm going to try and relate to everyone here. When folks, individuals, people, communities, cultures look to do something better that is different than what's been done before, I think the challenge comes up in that you have to be super, super secure and disciplined in your way of thinking. And so I feel that lack of discipline just in daily habits, regular basic stuff like, yo, you finished your cup of coffee, put it in the sink or wash the dish after versus leaving it on the table 3 floors up, right? Take it at least down to the kitchen, if not wash it, right? Just basic, simple ways of incorporating discipline into our lives can allow us the opportunity to be more sound in our creative abilities, because creativity is about being disciplined to you and only you, to what you say you're going to do and you're going to prove, right? Not no one else, not unless you got a team, then cool, y'all are collectively proving that together. But there's a deep, deep sense of discipline that comes along with that creativity and that community building and really just that sense of vulnerability of putting yourself out there when no one else is doing the thing that you're doing, you know. And I think that if I could pinpoint one thing of the reason why some folks ignore their creativity, for me, it's because they lack discipline across the board in their life, not just in that one thing, but in other areas too. I would see that it probably unfolds a little bit. So, but just my 2 cents and, you know, observance of people and organizations and, you know, the way people maneuver through life. And I've been guilty of it too. So not pointing the finger, but sometimes point it backwards, right? 1 finger pointed is 3 fingers back at you. Yeah. So looking at yourself too, and how you may be doing that thing that's prohibiting the progress.
Yeah, I want to go back to what Pedro said. Fear and failure, right? People don't want to fail. You know, you don't want to fail. You know, you don't want to. You're just afraid for, you know, what's to happen. I think it also requires lots of patience, right? It requires lots of patience because when you're talking about creativity, what's the end result, right? And you may not get it on the very first time or the second time or the third time or the fourth time. And I'm sure we'll get into failure later on into it, but, you know, is that good? Is that bad? And I think I read something like that, so I won't get into that yet.
I love it. So Derek too had a pretty powerful, it's a long one, so I won't say all of it. Well, I'll say all of it, but I won't post it. It said, creative minds, welcome all creative minds. Listen to those thoughts and see how best those creative juices can fit in the cup or the blender, and then take it from there. Maybe even thinking of to modify those creative thoughts from others to make them better, but welcome all creative thoughts. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Because a lot of it bounces around, you know, like from one thought to another, and you just start pairing it all together.
Yeah. So let's look at this. It's a long one. But success tends to come from a generous exchange of information, right? Quote unquote education. So what are some ways that we can create more spaces for young adults where this information can be exchanged collectively, right? And that's mentorship, that's teaching, that's events, that's all of that. But what would you kind of say, Julius?
Well, you just answered it.
Why don't you elaborate?
You know, one of my production partners, DJ Immaculate. Shout out to DJ Immaculate. I've known him since high school, and he's blown up right now. But he always used to talk about you catch bees with honey, right? So you got to catch bees with honey. So there has to be something that's enticing first and foremost, right? And once there's something that's enticing, you bring the right people around who are willing to share information to, you know, allow people to have access to these things, because it is really about information in the end and who has access to it and who doesn't. So you just have to be around people who are willing to share, or find people who are willing to share. But if you're on the creative side, or if you're on the production side of things, it's first finding things that entice people, and then making sure those who are around are willing to share, to help, you know, young adults and kids have access to this information.
Yeah, I love that. One of the big reasons that we picked the 5 verticals that we did, and for those of y'all, again, you know, newer to the station, newer to Your Passion First, art, music, entertainment, sports/wellness, and nutrition and culinary are our 5 verticals. So those last 2 are hybrid with sports and wellness and nutrition and culinary. But what we wanted to do is pick the spaces that are already safe to the young adults. They're already involved in those. We as people are already doing all those things. Yet there's a claim that there's a lack of good talent in those spaces. So is it a lack of good talent, or is it a lack of good mentorship, right? And so we have to look at, as people take on information, I had one black teacher that I can remember in all of my high school and college. Sorry, 2. Okay, one was a mentor, and so not a teacher in the school system. So I don't feel I received my best information, right? I failed math freshman year of high school. I got a tutor that was black. I didn't have to take another final in math until my senior year because I got exempt from all of them. But I received that information better because it was coming from someone I could relate to. And so when we look at exchanging information, we have to also look at the audience and the presenter, right? And how can we create a safer space there, whether it be by more narrative storytelling, if there's a lack of disconnect when that information is being transferred, or if it's just really creating more engagement. But I think that when we look at exchanging information, whether it be through teacher, through informal, through any way of that, I think we do truly have to look at, you know, how do we relate with people better so that we can retain information better and really create that true bond. So,
yeah, now that you say that, I think I had one black principal, but never had a black teacher in high school or college or grade school.
It's fucking crazy. Excuse my language, Mom. I'm sorry.
Not once. Yeah,
Sorry.
never once.
But that's crazy, right? Like,
yeah, like, wow. Damn,
that transfers over into the workforce, right? Into corporate, right? Into sports. There's like 3 black Major League Baseball coaches, right? There's basketball. There's like 5 to 8 black, coaches. Football. There's like 2 or 3. I don't know the exact numbers, but it transfers over. And so I think the bigger thing though is that we're understanding of it. We know that word, and white supremacy, racism, all of that. We could use all the words and all the things right now. Let's not use the negativity of those. Let's just use the positivity that there is a lack of equity. And how do we look at that when we're exchanging information, when we're educating people? How do we make those environments more equitable at the end of the day? For sure.
Absolutely.
So we got about 10 minutes left. We'll leave the last 5 minutes to shout outs, all the good things, anything that we want to get off our chest. But there's a couple of YouTubes and TED Talks out there kind of dispelling the notion that, put your passion first, right? And they're kind of saying some things that had me thinking, you're right.
Yeah.
What does that really mean? One of them, I'm just going to read. I'm not going to quote because I didn't quote, and I'm trying to be good with that. but I will paraphrase. In fact, following your passion can make it harder to satisfy the other ingredients because the areas you're passionate about are likely to be the most competitive, which makes it harder to find a good job.
Okay,
so I'm going to read it again.
Yeah, say that. Okay.
Because essentially, this is someone that's saying, oh, putting your passion first is not the best thing to do in the world, right? You shouldn't do that almost. So here's what someone like that would say. No, you shouldn't put your passion first. In fact, following your passion can make it harder to satisfy the other ingredients because the areas you're passionate about are likely to be the most competitive, which makes it harder to find a good job.
I don't know if I agree with that. Okay. So I guess my question is, what other ingredients, first of all, is he talking about? Because, like, if you're not leading, maybe it might be biased, but if you're not leading with, at least leading with your passion, right? You have to think about what it is that you want to do and what you can do. Because even if I talk to teachers all the time, for instance, and they may be passionate about like helping children and teaching, and then they're dealt with like a curriculum, and it's not even the same job, right? So you didn't mean that it was bad that you led with your passion because you wanted to go help children, right? Don't lead with it. I don't get that. What other ingredients, right? It doesn't mean that there's no thinking that's involved after, with leading with your passion, but what else are you leading with then?
Right.
Does he answer that?
Right. He, she, they, them, her, whatever, whoever the person is, but you're right. Like, and
I mean, I'm trying to play devil's advocate. I'm just saying, okay, just tell me, lead with, okay, is he's or he or she is essentially maybe has a different tool or suggestion on how to go about finding a great job. Okay, that's arguable. I can at least take that, but how is it that your passion can't be the heart of it? Because if you're not taking your passion, then like you're not even going to be contributing.
So let me, and I hear,
I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to control it. You have to, you have to direct and what it is. But like,
what it is 100%, right? 100%.
Yes.
Let me try and dispel this notion that this supporter of ours, and listen, we take all criticism, we want to talk with everyone about whatever, but we also want to address things that may be misaligned with what we think. Again, what we think is not end all be all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So just to repeat the question, or at least the gist of it, I think what the viewer was saying is that, man, if you just follow your passion, that's going to make it harder because then you got all these other things and you got to put food on the table and all that. And so what I would say, again, in story fashion, is that for a long time, I was putting that food on the table, right? In 2015, I had a book of business of 1.8 million. I W-2 190, right? I was doing very well at a startup, but I wasn't happy, right? I wasn't happy. I wasn't waking up being like, I was happy because I had my son, but there was nothing else other than that. And I don't want to be the kid that wakes up when his son goes away to college and like, man, I don't got nothing left, right? And so I didn't have anything else to be happy about. And so I made a conscious effort to leave that money, not right away, and I'm still not leaving it right away. I still have to do IT recruiting. I still recruit for security roles, right? I'm working on a Office 365 role today. And so there's the balance of here's what I love and what I'm going to do, and I'm never going to stop doing. And the hopes are I could balance it out from what I need to put food on the table. But while I'm putting food on the table with this thing is helping me, not just financially, but in networking, in discipline, in building, in confidence, and all the things that are really what it takes to put your passion first and to be creative. It's giving me those things. But if I sit here and I try and get to the destination, I'm forgetting that I got something right here that's giving me the tool to get where I need to get. And so a lot of our young adults are in this immediacy of like, yo, I'm trying to get this dollar on the corner. I'm trying to go make this quick dollar with this organization and make this quick 15, 20 an hour. And they're forgetting to do the thing that's going to get them here while they're doing the thing that can get them there.
Yes, and I'm actually going to go back into their argument, and I'll even say this. I think that another reason why your passion is so important is even when deciding something that you're going to do, even if it's not the first thing that you want to do, you still should ask yourself, like, what part of what I'm doing am I most passionate about? Because just having that answer alone will allow you to give purpose to why you're doing what you're doing, which opens a space for you to move out of that when you need to move out of it without breaking any type of bridges, right? So even in that argument of, I just don't agree with it, you still should lead with your passion first. You just need to ask yourself, okay, what part of what I'm trying to do am I most passionate about? Because, if you want to make movies, there's a lot of things that have to happen in making movies, right? You may be thinking that you want your name on the credits, but you may be the person who just loves to write. It could be anything. Or, even in IT world, maybe you don't care about the admin and all that, but you love talking to people. So it's still your passion. So as opposed to like not leading with lead with the passion, but just still ask all the other questions. I mean, that's just what I believe in.
Yeah, have multiple questions to ask and always lean it back on what part of that job or that role did you like the most? And in the next role or next point in your life, right? Next relationship, next business partnership, align yourself with the things that you liked most and try and weed out the things that you didn't like. And that's progress. That's life. That's how we grow.
And even in that, there's like two questions. One is, what part are you most passionate about? And the other is, what part comes most natural? Sometimes it's the same, but sometimes it's not. But that information can be super valuable for you.
Right. So I want to do two things. I want to tell the joke again, just because it's funny. And then let's close it out with just some closing remarks. I'm going to tell the joke, people, because it's an important time to get out and vote right now. We're here on October 15th. We are in the midst of a pandemic still, in the midst of communities saying, let's go back to school. Let's not. Let's do hybrid. Let's not. Right? Let's go to the park and put masks on. Let's not. Right? Let's take them off while we eat, while we're still next to each other. So it's all of these things that are shifting laws and shifting policies and shifting the foundation upon which we're able to move around freely in this nation that we call the United States of America. And so I'm a funny guy. I like to point light at stuff, but before I go to point the light, I want to bring the serious part. First, go vote. Go vote.
Yeah.
Go vote. These are times where we're unprecedented with the way we interact with people, and you may want to put your 2 cents in. And a lot of people say, my vote doesn't count. Well, if everyone said that, then we'd be up shit creek. And so just think about if
you don't vote, it doesn't count.
Right. Well, if you don't vote,
It'll count.
Well, if you don't vote, just think of if you thinking that, like, if I don't vote, I'm not going to vote because it doesn't matter, just me, just one person. But think about if you're saying that, how many other people are saying that? So is this going to be the year that you decide to not say that? You're just going to be out there talking about politics, talking about the change that needs to happen?
Yeah.
Are you going to actually go and put your stamp of approval? And don't get me wrong, I ain't saying you got to be a Democratic. You got to be a Republican, red, blue. I'm just saying, go pick the person that's going to do better than the other with where you think the world should go. That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty. That part of it is pretty simple. I think when it comes down to voting, I mean, everyone has fallen, fallen for that. Where it's really like when you're saying that your vote's not going to count, it means that the outcome that you wish would happen isn't going to happen. But guess what? It boils all back down to you can either wait for something to happen or you could lead with your passion first and make it happen.
That's it. Take action. Take action. So let's do this quick joke, bring a little laugh to all of us. I've said it a couple of times. So if y'all were on the B-Root meeting or...
I'm supposed to pretend like I haven't heard it?
Yeah. So, a little boy goes to his dad and he asks, and this is not my joke. I found it on a website, but it's hilarious to me. And I'm getting better at trying to create my own jokes and, do a little shum, but we'll get to that. So the little boy goes to his dad, he asks, "What's politics?" And the dad says, "Well, son, let me try and explain it to you this way." He says, "I'm the breadwinner of the family, so we'll call me capitalism. Your mother, she's the administrator of the money, so let's call her the government. We're here to take care of your needs, so we'll call you the people. The nanny, we'll consider her the working class. And your baby brother, we'll call him the future. Now go ahead and marinate on that and, kind of let me know what you think, son." So the little boy goes off to bed. In the middle of the night, he hears his little baby brother crying. So he goes into the room. Little boy checks the diaper. Poopers, right? Caca. So he goes to his mom's room. Mom's asleep. Goes to the nanny's room. Nanny's door is locked. So he's like, "Oh." So he looks in the keyhole. He sees dad, the nanny, don't say what they was doing. But he goes back to bed. He's like, okay. Wakes up in the morning. They're at breakfast. He goes, "Dad, I think I got this. I think I do." Dad goes, "All right, son. Why don't you go ahead and explain it in your own words?" So he goes, "All right, Dad. Well, while capitalism is screwing the working class, the government is sound asleep. The people are being ignored. And the future is in deep shit." I love it. It's a great joke.
It is a good joke.
I'm gonna try and bring my comedy game hard in the next couple years and just bring that. Part of engaging people is making people feel at ease. Bringing fun and joy and happiness to people's lives. And so I'm gonna work on it, y'all. Hopefully that's a good start. Go ahead and give some shout outs, Jules. Whoever you want to close it off to.
My closing remarks. Well, I want to give a shout out to all the human beings out there. All the human beings out there that see themselves as human beings and that are being kind to people. That's first and foremost. Be kind to people. You just don't know what people are going through. In good times and bad times or whatnot, you just don't know. And say hello, communicate, lift people up, surround yourself with people who lift you up and things that lift you up. But I would like to say this, I would like to say this about the pandemic. This is a time where if you just think about if you've had a dream and that you've been working for, a business or whatever, hobby, it could be anything. This is a time where everything is stopped and you have the opportunity to retell your story. If you think about projects, like, you often will say, man, I wish I had more time. So the time is now. You have the time. Think about everything you've done first. Think about all of it and say, damn, you know what? I made it this far. I made it. I made it doing what I want to do right now. Retell your story and what it is that you want to do in the future and do it. So those are my closing remarks right there. And thank everybody who's ever supported me, and 100% positive energy to everyone, my parents, community, friends, family. Feel free to always reach out to me. I'm always happy to have a good conversation. Even the gentleman who was arguing about the passion.
How do people find you? Website, Instagram, all the good things.
At Julius TMT, that's Instagram. At Mikasa Holiday, that's Instagram. Or mikasaholiday.com or themadthinker.com.
And if y'all look up just The Mad Thinker, I'm sure you'll find him. So, man, just much love to being able to create this amazing collaboration. Huge shout out to Bill. A couple people just from the recap of the season, some notables that are doing amazing work in the community. Shout out to Vanessa Stokes, Austin Town Hall, and a number of other things that she's doing within the art space. Shout out to Aisha Oliver, amazing things in the fashion industry. I'm gonna paraphrase, but the Boulevard, I believe, is what her new fashion company is called. So if you're looking for designs, all that goodness, check her out. Jason Daniels over at UCAN, just that facility over there, y'all. If y'all really want to know what it means to create community, they've done it. It's a gated facility. They got the gym, they got the classrooms, the teaching, the housing, the everything, y'all. So again, check out UCAN if you haven't heard of it, or you got any young adults in the Lawndale, East Garfield, Austin neighborhood that are looking to get into a community of people. Jason Daniels doing amazing things in the music space as well. Shout out to Justin Cunningham, Executive Director of Social Works. We led the season off with him. Big ups to Chance, him, G Herbo, and them. They did an event here a couple weeks ago. So shout out to them doing huge things in the mental wellness space. Shout out to Glenn's Green, amazing things in the film industry. Daryl Satcher, I mentioned you, my man, just doing things in the wellness space, helping people find their greater good, their greater being. Shout out to Maui, my man, Maui, and the Echo Collective for the generous donation for our wellness event. Much love. That gentleman, bro, he never ceases to amaze me, Maui, just with your heart, your passion, and just your work ethic, bro. So much love there. And Anselm Gardner, bro, we gonna get up on this contest for the pitch competition for the Workforce Readiness Festival. And so shout out to him for helping. Jamal folks, Darren Freeman at Talent Hue, thank you for helping. And for everyone that's helping out with the progress of Your Passion First, Mikasa Holidays, with Build and the relationships in the community, just huge shout outs to everyone that's about the action, right? Talk is cheap, right? But this collective and walk the walk, Danny Kovac, that whole collective over in Oak Park, we just did that event last. Just shout out to people creating action right now, not talking, right? Not living in paralysis of analysis, as Malcolm Crawford over at AAA BNA says it, not living in that paralysis of analysis, but really looking at how do we create community. It starts with putting your passion first. And so, ladies and gentlemen, season 3, as we bring it to a close.
1 second.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that because you touched on so many different people and contributions and contributors for the Workforce Festival and Mikasa Holiday Weekend. There's so many contributors. Like I've probably spoken to maybe 200 some people like Phaedra, for instance, who's in the fitness wellness world. There are people from Brazil like Andres Rockmaster, people from Mexico like Paulina. There's Paulio, dance workshops. There's George from Costa Rica. There are at least 150 contributors that will be from all around the world. That Alex M from United Music, Terry Hunter from Chicago, and DJ Immaculate. So there are a ton of people, and I tend to not go through everyone because I hate missing someone, and there's just no way I'm gonna get everybody, right?
Let's go.
But 100%, I so much appreciate the time that you spend, because a lot of the things that people who have passion like myself and like Chris or like yourselves that are creative, the things that you're asking of people, it requires them to go over and beyond. And I just want to let everyone know from the bottom of my heart, so much. I appreciate it. I so much appreciate it and I know how difficult it is, but I want you to also understand, I would never, ever ask any of my friends or people to do anything that I would not be willing to do myself. So let's get this together. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Chris, for having me on.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for the love and the willingness to allow us to create in a land that really hasn't been created before. And that's the beauty of putting your passion first. And it's not easy, y'all. But in order to get to that promised land of living a life of feeling fully happy, it's a necessity. And so again, much love to everyone, all mentors, families, friends, supporters, and tune in, y'all. Tune into this festival, tune into this 7-day event, tune in. If you need to find us, Facebook, Mikasa Holiday, Your Passion First. We here, and this is just the beginning. This is year one. We're going to be around for a minute. So much love to the community. We just looking forward to getting to understand the community, understand the needs, and how do we bring new innovative things to the community with your voice, though, with you at the table, with you as young adults and people of the community assisting with the creation of that. So again, shout out to our partners. Y'all, season 3 to a close. Y'all know how I always like to finish it. Peace, love, and understanding. In order to follow your dreams, you got to put your passion first. I love y'all. We out.
Thank you.